and start the recording. Awesome. Everyone, Showtime Toastmasters event. Did the judges get it right? I am Cynthia Kerford, Vice President of Education for Toastmasters, or at least Showtime Toastmasters. I don't want to be for the whole world, just for our club. Thank you very much. Showtime is known for hosting workshops. Hold on here. Is known for hosting workshops, usually on the fifth Monday. And so that is why we are taking advantage of this event tonight. We hope you will have fun and learn something about the new, a new form of interactive discussion. And we're using the judges. Did the judges get it right? It is our hope that this workshop will help you to be a better speaker, evaluator, and or a contest judge. Ooh. And now please join me in welcoming our facilitator for tonight's program, distinguished Toastmasters, past international director, Ms. Nancy Starr Cassidy.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, and welcome to everyone to our session tonight. I am so excited to see so many of you here, but let's get started. Let me first begin that even though we are asking the question, did the judges get it right? Please note, it is not our intention to challenge the results of the world champion in public speaking, but rather we are seeking to understand the contest judging process and uncover the specific content and delivery techniques that make these speakers and these speeches truly exceptional. First, what we will do is talk a bit about the criteria for judging. We're going to review the judges' ballot because we will actually be scoring these speeches together and sharing the content. So first, we will watch the videos of the top 3 speech winners, and then we're going to discuss your assessment of the strengths and opportunities for each of these particular speakers. So we invite you to please participate by using the judges form that we are going to be sharing with you. Actually, it's already there in the chat. Thank you, Cynthia. She is on top of that. She is my assistant that will be also monitoring the chat. We encourage you to use the chats for questions, etc. When you have any questions, we will do our best to answer and get to all of you. We do have quite a few participants here this evening. So please go to the chat and download the judges form so that you have something to reference that. As noted earlier, many of you are already very accomplished Zoom participants, but to make sure we're all on the same page, we use jazz hands to demonstrate our applause. That's for the American Sign Language symbol for applause. Because we do have that large group, we also ask that in addition to using the chat, that you also use the raise hand function to be able to be recognized if you have something of import or if I'm asking for volunteers. Please use the raise hand before you start speaking, just to make sure that we reduce any over talk during the process, and to make sure that everyone can find the raise hand feature. For most of us, it is in the React down at your lower part of your screen under React, and then you'll see the option to raise hands. We can do a little test right now. How many of you have actually seen one or more of the winning speeches for the 2025 contest? Feel free to use that raise hand function. So we've got several that have already seen it. Great. We're going to ask that you use fresh eyes as a judge and looking at the criteria when we get ready to review those. So there's also in that same area under React, there's also the opportunity to lower your hand.
Okay,
It will
yeah.
automatically time out after a moment or two. But again, if you're done with your thank you, see, you're all already on top of it. I'm very impressed with this group. We finally ask that everyone please remain muted unless you're called upon to speak. You can turn your mute off, again, close to the audio button for those of you that are not familiar with that in the lower left hand of your screen. And we may have to use our Zoom Master magic powers to mute someone if we get some background noise that might be distracting to others, especially during the speaking part of the program. Are there any questions about the process that we're going to follow this evening? All right. Great, thank you for your participation. So let's get back to the flow for tonight. As you watch each speaker, and we'll be seeing all three of those that placed for second and third, not necessarily in that order, you will be evaluating and scoring using the judging criteria. And just like a contest in the real world of Toastmasters, we will have 1 minute of silence at the conclusion of each speaker so that you can work on your score sheet for that particular presenter. When we complete the third speech, then you will get 2 timed minutes to add up your scores and determine who came in first on your scorecard. Our timer tonight is a fellow Showtime member, Jared Fort, and he will signal us with a red background when the timed minute is up. We're not going to time the actual speeches because we know they qualified. That's already been vetted by World Headquarters. So again, we're not conducting a real speech contest, but trying to at least set the stage. When all 3 speeches are concluded and the 2 minutes are up, we're going to be voting with the use of a Zoom poll. And we're only going to ask you for the winner because we don't need to worry about who you thought was second or first. We just want to know, did they get the winner right? Once the voting is closed, we're going to share the poll results, and then we're going to find out if we agreed with the actual judges at the World Championship. All right. Are we ready to talk about the judging criteria? By now, everyone should have downloaded the judging form if you are not already familiar with it. And since I'm going to assume that you have a judging form on your screen or physically in front of you, I'm not going to project it. However, if someone feels it needs to be shared, please type that into the chat, and I'm sure our amazing Zoom master will take that on the screen if you believe that needs to happen right now. All right. The judging criteria is organized into 3 categories. The primary or most important category that is weighted a full 50% of the score is that of content. And there are 3 categories within content, and each of the categories, for those of you reviewing the form in person or online, are explained more fully on the back of your judging criteria sheet. So you're more than welcome to take a look at it. Most of us are experienced Toastmasters, and so we understand what we mean by speech development. You know, does the speech follow a clear structure, organization? Are the points or stories supported throughout that presentation? So that is a full 15 points out of the possible 100. For the second category is effectiveness, which is your purpose. Did they achieve the purpose that they stated they were going to share with us? And that's 10 points. 25 points is for speech value. Was this original thinking? Were these original stories? Did it follow logic and thought? And so those categories together qualify for 50% of the possible points that you can award a contestant, excuse me. The second category is delivery. That is 30% of the score. And that is also in 3 categories: the physical appearance, the body language, and the use of speaking area. Voice, flexibility, and volume, and then manner, which is directness, assurance, and enthusiasm. Each of those categories is 10 points possible. The last category is language. Did they have language that is appropriate to the purpose of the speech and to the audience? And lastly, correctness, grammar, pronunciation, word selection. So those categories together, as I said, are the last 20%. Now, I know some of you are very experienced judges, and you may have your own method for scoring. But as long as we're staying true to the concept that each of these areas represents a percentage of the possible points that you can award to each one of our contestants. Do we have any questions about the judges' form? Either I'm brilliant or you're all a lot more experienced than what I was ready for. I will share my optimism that you are all experienced Toastmasters and ready to begin this process. Because if there are no further questions, we are going to begin the process. Are you ready to watch one of the winning videos? This is exciting. I love speech contests at this level because sometimes it's very difficult, and the difference on score sheets could be just a point or two. So that's why it's very important to be able to see and hear clearly and pay attention to your speech criteria. All right, we are ready. Madam Zoom Master, could you please present the first speaker?
Alan Ong Boon Kiet, keep dreaming. Keep dreaming. Alan Ong Boon Kiet.
Thank you, Contest Chair.
You're welcome.
Growing up with a father who has been a fan to the NBA, National Basketball Association, I fell in love with the game at an early age. After watching Michael Jordan make his winning shot in the 1998 NBA Finals, I make a bold decision to give myself a nickname, Michael. Michael Ang. As I told my aunt about it, she said, "Yup, that's what I have been telling your father, to name you after someone called Michael. You know, the guy who wears an orange bandana? Michelangelo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle." At the early age of 13 years old, I have this wild dream of becoming the first Bruneian to play in the NBA. As I grew to 5'5", I told myself, one more foot, and I will be able to play on this world stage. For the next 3 years, I grew by 1 inch. As I felt discouraged, I found another NBA player, Allen Iverson, of the Philadelphia 76ers. At 6 feet tall, he was playing fearlessly among the giants. After watching him dominate the NBA in 2000s, I made another bold decision to change my name into Alan. Alan Ang. And ever since, I have watched countless clips of him, and I even tried his basket move on the court. Time flew by. At the age of 20, I graduated as an accountant. By then, I looked more likely to become a sports analyst rather than a player. This teenage wild dream, gone. But I remained hopeful as I became a young working adult. As I landed my first job, I set more realistic dream, have a successful career, become financially independent, and retire early at the age of 40 years old. And if I save enough money, I'm gonna fly to the States and watch Iverson play. Life had different plans. At 27 years old, I got married. 29 years old, I welcomed my daughter. At 33 years old, I welcomed my son. All those NBA live games now became online replay. All those NBA tickets now became vouchers for milk powder and diapers. And all those NBA analytic skills became analyzing different kinds of baby cries. And to make things worse, my dream of watching Iverson was fading away. He retired. This young adult dream, gone. But I remained hopeful as I entered into my mid-30s. Like many, I've done many jobs to take care of my family, including starting my own business. Again, life had other plans. One pandemic later, I lost 2 businesses. And by the time I knew it, I was 3 years away from 40 years old. Nowhere near the dream of financial independence and retirement early. I looked around and saw all my peers being successful. I was lost and started to doubt all the decisions in my life. My dream faded into just hoping to catch a break. And that night, I asked my wife, "Are you happy? Have I given you a better life? Are you proud of me?" Gentle but firm, she replied, "You are doing great. You have put a roof above our head. You have put food on the table for our family. You have raised 2 beautiful children who look up to you as a role model. And most important of all, you have the most amazing and brilliant, intelligent woman as your wife. Do not undervalue yourself. Taking care of your family, that is also a dream come true." And she was right. While I chase all those big, wild dreams, I tend to forget the quieter dreams, the smaller dreams that have already come true. The dream of becoming a husband, the dream of becoming a father, this matters just as much. As I turned 40 years old earlier this June, I started celebrating all the kinds of dreams that have come true. That day, for the first time, I texted my mother, "Thank you. Thank you for bringing me into this world." And look at both my children happily growing up. And me and my wife, we have been happily married for 14 years. That night, I told her of my new dream on the trip for us to go to Japan. 1 week later, on the 2nd of July, 2025, I received an email. "Dear Alan, congratulations on winning the quarterfinals of 2025 International Speech Contest. You have been invited to the semifinals this August in Philadelphia, United States." 27 years later, my dream of representing Brunei on the world stage, my dream of visiting Philadelphia, the city of my hero, Allen Iverson, all came true while transiting through Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, in our life, we dream many dreams. Some dreams are wild, some are simple. Some takes time to come true, and some remain as a dream. While we may not be able to control the outcome, we're able to choose how we live along the way. When we are grateful to life, life would find its own way to reward us. So ladies and gentlemen, keep count of all the dreams that you have already achieved. Remain hopeful to all those dreams that have yet to come true. And above all, keep dreaming.
Thank you. We're going to take that 1 minute of silence for you to mark your ballots, please. Thank you, Mr. Timer, for that signal. We are now ready to hear from our second participant. Madam Zoom Master, would you please launch that video?
Mas Mahathir bin Mohammed. Raindrops. Raindrops. Mas Mahathir bin Mohammed.
Thank you, Contest Chair.
You're welcome.
"12 years ago, I had no idea how simple raindrops could change me. Curious? Let's go back to 2013. I'm a self-absorbed 20-year-old who cares about me, myself, and money. Helping others, not my priority. Now, sensing who I'm becoming, my mom says, "Son, there's an orphanage I help at on the weekends, and you're going." What? I don't want to go. But when mothers say go, you go. At the orphanage, while mom helps in the kitchen cooking meals for the kids, I have to help the kids in the study hall. And that's when I meet Ali. Ali is a too cool for school teenager who's allergic to homework. He won't study, he won't listen. The one thing he will do, write bad jokes. And one goes like this: "What must go away? Mas Mahade." And what's worse, his joke is full of spelling mistakes. Only my name is correct. I hate it here. But every weekend, mom drags me back and reminds me, "Son, you can help Ali by being kind." What? I just have to ensure he improves fast so I can get out of here faster. So I go tough on him. I flood Ali with homework. He drowns me with excuses. I push him to spell right. He puts up a fight. I say, "I'll tell my mom about you." And he says, "Then I'll write more jokes about you." One gloomy rainy day, I flip. "Ali, what's your problem?" And he yells back, "You!" and storms off to his room. So I storm off to the kitchen, Mom's cooking, and I say, Mom, I am done with Ali, and why is he being so difficult? Mom switches off the stove. She says, son, Ali is not as lucky as you. What do you mean? He's lost his mom, his dad. He's lost hope. But we can help. She points outside towards the rain and says, before it rains, it starts with the first rain drop. Then other raindrops follow. And in the same way, when you show kindness first, sooner or later, others follow. And eventually, kindness reigns everywhere. But son, you have to start it. Go be a raindrop for Ali. I don't want to. But when mothers say go, so I go to Ali's room. He's on his bed, holding his family photo. I ask, Ali, what's wrong? And after a long silence, he says, I miss my mom. I miss my dad. No one cares about me like them. Those words flood me with shame and guilt. My 20-year-old brain starts realizing he's not here by choice. He's not as lucky as me. Then mom's voice echoes, be the first raindrop. I sit next to him and I say, Ali, I'm so sorry. And I just listen. And it turns out that's all he needs, for someone to show just a little bit of care and kindness. And so I sit there, comforting him, listening to him, until the sun comes out. Since that moment, I try to be better by showing kindness more. And soon, I notice he follows. Ali is making small changes every single day. One day, I see him helping mom in the kitchen. Another day, he shares his food with another kid who didn't have enough. He even pushes other kids to do homework. What? But mom's right. When you show kindness first, sooner or later, others follow. And I kept helping Ali at that orphanage for 6 years, while mom's lesson stayed with me since. You see, in our world today, we witness so much hopelessness, loneliness, ignorance, and the list goes on. And we can either look up waiting for the first raindrop, or we can be the first raindrop. How? By lending a hand to a stranger, standing up and speaking up for somebody in need, or showing care for someone, even if they're allergic to homework. Well, last year, we received an email from Ali, and it moved us for 2 reasons. One, no spelling mistakes, thankfully. And 2, it said this: Dear Mr. Ma's auntie, thanks for caring back then. I got into college, and I started volunteering too. My friends, online and on-site, snap your fingers with me. Imagine how beautiful this world could be if we choose to be raindrops like this. So remember, when you show kindness first, others follow. So let's make it rain kindness everywhere we go. Let's be the first raindrops.
These are some pretty good speakers. You have your work cut out for you. Let's do 1 minute of silence to score your ballots. Thank you, Mr. Timer. Madam Zoom Master, we are ready for our third contestant.
Sabyasachi Sengupta. Just nod. Just nod. Sabyasachi Sengupta.
Thank you, Contest Chair.
You're welcome.
I love you so, so much. Mwah. I was talking to the stage. If you're wondering, you should know what this stage does to us. This is that one safe space where we can be creative, weird, wacky, right? Give me a little hoo-hoo if you love the stage. I knew that. Because when we are up here, nothing else in this world matters except this stage, our craft, and our audience. But do we often take this performer energy into our day-to-day lives? Or we think the world will judge us, label us, maybe even laugh at us? Contest Chair, Toastmasters, and my performers in this room and all over the world, for me, finding this stage was not easy because I grew up in India, where my dad told me I have 3 career options: to be a doctor, engineer, or be a disappointment. But disappointment had its own hierarchy. Like if I'm in a corporate job, I'm least disappointment. But I wanted to climb the Mount Everest of disappointment. I wanted to be a Bollywood actor. You're a Bollywood actor, right? Fix the bulb, pat the dog, fix the bulb, pat the dog. That kind. But I never had the courage to tell my father, because if I did, just like any other Indian dad, he would say, actor, somebody is going to get a beating. So I knew the dream to be an actor was too far. But life, like a Bollywood movie, had its twists and turns, and I ended up in a city called Amsterdam. And one day, while I was attending a boring finance lecture, I thought, what if I gave myself this chance to be an actor? Next day, I skipped class and I went for an audition of a play, Romeo and Juliet. I wanted to be conservative, so I went for the role of Romeo. The director looked at me and said, "You want to be a Romeo?" You know why? Because there were 20 other actors, tall, chiseled jaw, and enthusiastic. And there was me, enthusiastic. You want to be an actor? Okay, Mr. Bollywood, show me how would you propose to your Juliet? Showtime. I looked at Juliet and said, oh Juliet, you are the love of my life. Your eyes are as pretty as River Ganga. Your figure is as perfect as the Taj Mahal. Your breath is as fresh as Indian curry. Tell me, Juliet, tell me, will you be mine? If your answer is yes, just nod. But if your answer is no, just nod. And I'll understand. Cut, cut, cut. Oh my God, you're the best actor. You deserve an Oscar. I believed him for 5 seconds. And then I saw everyone laughing. Then I knew my dream to be an actor was definitely dead. I can never be a performer. So I did what anybody with a broken dream in the city of Amsterdam would do. Take up a job in finance. Now, finance professionals are really fun. They are curious, they are energetic, open to new ideas. You know, They only believe in data and numbers, and I'm sure when they sleep at night, they sleep with a spreadsheet on. And there I was, crunching numbers, making Excel sheets, wearing blue and black suits to fit in. And one day, and also attending town halls, finance town halls, that were as interesting as the Toastmasters annual general meetings. Not the one from yesterday, from past years. And one day we had to do a presentation within 24 hours notice, and everybody panicked. Nobody knew what to do. Something in me woke up, the performer. I went to my manager and said, "Can I do the presentation?" "Are you sure, Sabi?" That was a yes, by the way. "Use the existing slides." That was a no, by the way. I threw away those data-heavy slides. I put on my red suit, and I used a story that had opening, connection, laughter. And guess what? I saw my colleagues laugh for the first time. Agree, this never happens in finance. After the presentation, my manager came to me and said, "Dude, you should be the new CEO." Promotion? No, Chief Entertainment Officer. "You do this so well, you should do more often. You should teach us." These guys liked my performance. Like, I thought to fit in finance, I need to be one of them, those blue suits. And that day, I unleashed the performer in me. And people liked me. People liked my performance. And that's when it hit me, my friends. I do not need a movie set to live my dream. I can be a performer even in a boardroom with a clicker and a projector. A clicker and a projector. My dear performers in the room, too often we hold our energy, we hold our ideas because we think it's not appropriate for the room. My dear performers, let's not do that. Let's unleash that ideas. Let's unleash the energy. Yes, some days you will be trolled. Some days you will be rejected. Some days you'll be made fun of. But trust me, some days you'll light up a room. Someday you'll make someone's day. And who knows, someday you may even change someone's life. So my dear performers, if life asks you, wherever you are, whichever stage you want to be on, asks you, are you ready? Just put on your red suit or put on your red dress, step on this stage, smile, and just nod. Can't just share.
Thank you. Boy, these are some amazing speakers. Let's take 2 minutes of silence to mark your ballots for the third speaker and then tally your votes. You have 2 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Timer. Our 2 minutes are up. That means, folks, if you're like me and some of us need a little more time to do the actual math, do your best to quickly determine who your winner is. Remember, we only need to know who you thought came into first place. We are going to now launch the poll to see who you thought was the highest scoring competitor today. We'll take about 30 seconds for you to make a note of who you thought did the best presentation today. Madam Zoom Master, do you have all of the votes? It looks like our 30 seconds is up. Thank you, Jared. All right, we will close that poll. And then, Madam Zoom Master, when you are ready, could you display our results for the best speaker? So we have just ahead by a hair our second speaker, Moss. Boy, I knew I was going to mess up the second name. Mahathir and Sabayashi was in second place and Alan in third place, according to our poll today. All right, just so you are aware of the actual results, if you could not tell by the videos, they had little clues. Sabayashi came with the speech of Just Nod, came in first. And then Moss with Raindrops came in second, and Alan with Keep Dreaming came in third. So thank you, Matthew. I love someone who is an expert on statistics, saying all within the margin of error. So we were pretty close to what the official judges for that day shared. What I would like you to do right now to sort of get our juices flowing is we would like to know, first of all, was anybody here surprised that we, again, there was that point that because our video situation was not the premier experience that you would have when watching the World Championship, could have made a little bit of a difference. But what I would like to hear from each of you right now is in the chat, if you could please share at least one comment about what you noticed, either in commonality between these three presenters or what specifically stood out for you. Just one comment, and then I'm going to have my amazing chat master friend, Cynthia Kerford, is going to review some of the comments for the good of the order. So, Cynthia.
Well, I dropped the first one in there. I noticed one of the speakers had some extra stuttering in his presentation. Okay. Anybody else raise a hand or something? Okay, we see charisma. Sabi had a better opening. Wardrobe. Got it. Yeah, that stood out for a number of people. Lots of triplets. In other words, they repeated their title or their theme a couple of times. The one comment from Rick was that Moss had more humor, emotion, a good message, and reminder was in his message. We got one person that said the messages weren't especially valuable. Okay, that can make a difference too, depending on the day and the time that you are, or mood that you're in. Keep that in mind. Someone said they remember Sabi's charisma, but not his message. Oh, okay. Someone noticed that the suits looked like they were red, or was it just the lighting? And someone did point that out, that there were red suits highlighted. The other comment was the third speaker seemed to be improvisational at some point. I think I got that right for the point that was being made. Okay. Moss had more physical, purposeful movement. And then with Sabuyashi, he had an amazing smile. Okay. And Sabi had the best grammar. Moss' speech was heartwarming and almost made you cry. I know that emotional roller coaster. That's a big one. The stage was used minimal by all speakers. Ah, good catch. But if I'm not mistaken, they're to stay in the box now. They can't go full length of the stage. If I remember, the rules now have changed on that. Sabi connected with the audience better. Okay. One person said it was easier to understand the second speaker as he has paused and had more contact. Sabi was mischievous, humorous, and he misled us to get chummy. Ah, the order that they spoke in, if you really want those details, go to Toastmasters International. The World Championship order will be listed there for you, okay? Someone noted that the snap was more memorable. Someone noted that the bow tie was a little distracting. Oh, okay. Lots of expansive gestures. Okay. Yes, it was tough making a decision between Muhammad and Sabi, and that Sabi allowed time for the audience to laugh. Ooh, that's a key point there. Okay. Agreed with the power of rain with the finger snap. And then someone else was also proud of the words because they were touched. Are you proud of me? So that was something that was an emotional connection with the audience. Okay. And Sabi talked about his speech in his interview, and he allowed 40 seconds for laughter. But that 40 seconds, you have to be careful with the timing. Nancy, that's the majority of them at the moment. I'll let you go ahead and start facilitating from there.
Thank you, Madam Chatmaster Cynthia. We will come back to you again a little bit later. And it appears that most of us were very observant about many of the basic Toastmaster skills. I did love that several of you picked up on those moments that connected or really made either the speaker themselves memorable and or made their message memorable. So they did that either using content or presentation or words. And that's why those three categories matter so much when we are judging and reviewing different competitions. So we're ready to dig a little deeper now on some of these techniques. What are some of the more advanced presentation techniques that you observed in the video? Several of you have already mentioned a few of those, but please, again, feel free to add additional comments in the chat, or if somebody would like to speak to some of these more advanced techniques, please raise your hand to be recognized. I see Tony's real hand. Tony, could you unmute yourself and share with us what you observed?
Oh, I like these speeches. I actually watched this final speech, and the first place didn't even qualify for me. He was not in my favorite three, but the other two were, and I actually went with the raindrops. The guy with the raindrops. I think he had more connection with the audience, and he spoke very, he paused during every statement that he did where he connected. And he was also very direct. And he was using normal, simple language to understand. And I love that. And one of the things that I noticed also is his ability to go fast with the raindrops, and I think that was a very good show, and it represented what he felt. So he transmitted that message since the title, with the title itself, and then he said what it was. So I think he carried that message throughout, and also, we sort of knew that the kid was going to improve, but he did it in a good way. So that's what I noticed.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, I have to admit, for me personally, I agree that Mus connected with me emotionally a little more. I definitely had goosebumps during parts of his presentation, but Sabi was, I believe, the better presenter. From, again, many of us remember that he evoked emotion, but just made us feel good, and we enjoyed that presentation style. So it's really interesting how the different speakers use their connection to the audience. Did we have anyone else that wanted to share any advanced techniques? Bobby.
Thank you, Nancy. One of the things I noticed in Alan's speech was when he did a gesture that was chronological, he went from our point of view left to right, which is the opposite when we're looking at the audience. And I think that's really important for chronological, or the way he did, Mutant Ninja Turtle. He did it left to right from our view.
And that is interesting as well, because we have an international audience, and the judges they're very careful to recruit judges from all continents and cultures to make sure that they have a diverse variety of judges. And for those of us who largely participate in Toastmasters here in North America, that is something that is not everyone reads from left to right as a lot of us might do. So again, I'm assuming that was a purposeful order to perhaps make sure that they were appealing to those of us who read left to right. Thomas, you had additional comment?
Yes, thank you. On to the same point, I felt that Sabi got a bit mischievous with us. He became pally with us. The first one, all of us thought he was proposing to the girl, right? There he caught us, in a positive way. Secondly, he has a personality. Obviously, he's a stage actor. You can see from his steps. Showtime, right? And then he came, I thought he was coming for the 100 meters, race, 100 meters dash, like an athlete. So that personality he's kept all throughout the hymn, the actual Sabi he presented. Also, he overlapped that with many Indianness. I was watching this international audience reacting to many of the things which this part of the world we don't react to. The nod is a typical caricature of an Indian, the way he answers yes and no. Onwards with that, except that the only part I didn't like was his trying to sing. Wasn't the best. But it served the purpose. I can see from this, the squares, I can see that. So to me, in fact, I scored him lower on the theme. That leaves me with a sense of emptiness about the judgment. But if you add up my points, he got it right. That's my explanation of, there were questions in this part of the world about the, final results. I mean, in a democratic way, nothing. You cannot prove it either way. I think this is what happened. He outscored others in many small points. Totaled up, he came the winner. My thought. Thank you very much for your patience.
Yes, no, thank you, Thomas. We appreciate very much that perspective. It is, I've been a Toastmaster for 37 years, so I've had many opportunities to watch speakers and different levels of speech contests. And anytime you try to quantify something and put a score card on activities, people will figure out how to work the numbers. But the essence is, 99% of the time we get it right because the overall package, and that's part of what the judging forum is doing its best to be able to say, look, we value the message, but we have to admit that presentation is also very critical to the audience's reception. So that is really great. Connie, I appreciate that the fact that he purposely not singing well to prove the fact that that was not a career option for him. So that was a great point. Do we have anyone else that wants to share any feedback about strengths or possible where a speaker missed the mark? We've heard from a few people. I saw a few comments where a speaker missed a big opportunity to either connect to the audience or to be able to wrap his message fully. Would anyone else like to share their thoughts?
I think Treka, and forgive me if I pronounced her name wrong, she noted that she's asking, did everyone like Sabi's opening? He lost her in the beginning and gained momentum in the content of his speech. And there were a few responses back. Is there anyone else that would like to chime in? Okay, we have
Tiffany, yes.
Hello. I was there and I watched his speech, and I want to say that Sabi had the audience from the beginning. And that to me is the reason why he won. I actually didn't have him winning when I was there in person. I had him as number 2, but I understand why he won. He had the audience. You could tell that he was watching the audience of knowing when to pause for the laughter. And I think there were times when the audience laughed that he wasn't expecting it, and he quickly changed up and let that play out and went into the rest of his speech. That's why I believe that he won. And I believe he took the opening and got everyone's attention with it. For me, the second speech won, but the opening did not keep everyone's attention. I felt the message was much better, and I resonated with that much more. But after looking at the judging forum, it makes more sense to know why Sabi won, because he probably got more points because of his engagement with the audience.
Excellent feedback. I did hear from fellow attendees as well that said it was really difficult to say for sure this was the winner. They weren't judging, they were just observing, because they felt there were 2 or 3 strong contenders, but not anybody that was clearly the world champion until, so it was quite anticipation of who was going to be called. But yeah, especially for those that were lucky enough to be in the room, videos can't capture that essence. And so that is excellent feedback. And Daniel, I see that you had an article from his coach that really touched on why there was so much humor. Because I will admit, I did smile throughout his whole presentation because he was making me feel good during that. So that is definitely if you're weighing right on the fence, those extra couple of points could really push somebody over the edge, as we saw in the results. Are there any other comments or items that we want to make sure that we capture about particular winners? Or again, I'd love to hear a little more from people about what Alan might have done well. So even though we all agreed he came in third, that's still pretty darn impressive to get third place in a world champion of public speaking. Bobby.
I was reminded during all three of the speeches tonight about Randy Harvey and how he talked about zones for gestures, from low to being expansive, and then also upper. So for example, Sabi started out low, and then he said, when he talked about disappointment, and then he raised his hand high in the air saying the Mount Everest of disappointment. And there were other examples too in all three of the presentations.
Yes, excellent. Yes. And again, ever since we had Darren LaCroix fall on the stage on purpose during his presentation, and that was groundbreaking at the time. For those of you that were around back in, was it 1999, that when he did that, that was shocking and very dramatic. And so since then, we've had a lot of speakers that do something a little unexpected. I forgot the gentleman, the champion that started to light the cigarette just to get that audience reaction. And so likewise, I feel Sabi did the same thing when he dropped to the ground to say, I love you to the stage. So it's a risk. It's a risk. Some people find that innovative and eye-catching and engaging, and other people might be turned off by that. So it's a big risk to do something like that. Connie, let's go to you.
I think that the first speaker, he had gestures, they weren't big, they weren't grand compared to the other ones. And I think partly I was disappointed that his big dream really took so long, and he stripped it from focusing on that to, the little ones matter, which they do. But I was ready for him at any time to say, I finally got to see him play, 19 whatever. And that's what I missed.
So opportunities there because we're anticipating something and we didn't get to have that emotional fulfillment. So that's a good point. Sometimes that's the challenge we have during storytellers, and those of you that follow some of the world champions that do a lot of coaching, it's all about the story, right? And sometimes your stories don't have to share the complete truth. And by that, I mean, you don't have to have all the details, right? You can leave out the unimportant parts of the story to be able to get to the essence of the story and be able to follow through. So that's always a challenge of how do you bring that fulfillment. Were there any other comments? I'm seeing some great comments in the chat as well.
Danielle, I like your comments. Would you like to share at this time? You've got some good input there.
Oh, I'm just here eating my popcorn and commenting away. But no, I really enjoyed these speeches, and like I say, to me it honestly could go either way between the top two there. But I personally would have given the nod to Moz. I think that Sabi got a lot of points for that connection piece of having all that humor, but I certainly scored him substantially lower on the meaningfulness of the speech than I did either of the other two. But because he had so many positive qualities going for him, my total score between him and Maz was like 2 points, and certainly very, very high overall. And nice to see some really great speeches, because like I say, sometimes you watch the top three, and in recent years that's been the case more often than not, and they're excellent, but there's one that always is just so much better than the other two, and so it's really nice to see such high caliber across all three this year.
Oh, goodness. I know I'm totally jealous because I made it to the district stage, but never took home that first place trophy. So I am certainly the last one to be able to be super critical of anyone. But every time I watch one of these speakers, it boggles my mind what people can do with 5 to 7 minutes.
Yep.
And I certainly don't want to take away from anyone on that stage, because what they're, even the folks that didn't place, their performance is beyond what we normally get to see at the club and district level. And it's a pleasure to be able to get so many great takeaways by watching these speeches. That's why I value this type of a workshop, because you get perspectives from different people. What are you looking for? And as we're trying to improve our performances and our messages, there's always something to be learned. I'm going to go to Connie and then to Thomas.
I totally agree with what you just said about the content and the value of the second place winner's message. But, and I don't want to appear shallow, but I think of the ongoing debate between actors and writers. Actors, are they more, brilliant because they bring the words to life? Or is it the writers that give them their brilliance? There is got to be a partnership, but if you had to pick between the two, who is truly more gifted? And obviously the one that won had more charisma, more delivery, but if it was solely the message and it was a higher category, then I would have rated the second place number one. And we all said it's just, you're talking like 1 or 2 points.
Right,
and
right.
Charisma, delivery wins out. Because he had it in spade, and he got us with his first opening and never let us go.
Yeah.
Where the second guy, we kind of warmed up to him and his message.
Yeah, great feedback. Thanks, Connie. Thomas?
First of all, hi. I'm so happy I attended this meeting. It's very important for us to have validation for our small little teeny weeny thoughts, which are waiting for that validation. That's what makes us what we are. In fact, within 3 days of the results, I put out my evaluation, which I do every year in Toastmaster official columns also. For me, Mars should have won in a way. My heart says Mars should have won, but my brain says Total Up and Savvy wins. Mars, for a moment, I've never ever heard a phonetic title, and so apt. Raindrop, I felt the freshness of raindrop. And just when it rains outside, his mom says, be the raindrop. Fantastic, very well visualized. Savvy, the thought that I had was, yes. What did he say at the end? He said, I made a great presentation in my red suit, and everybody laughed for the first time. But that's not what Toastmasters does. He claims, he asks us to take a leap of faith when he says that you can change someone. If he had told me the story of a speech changing someone, he would be my undisputed winner. All the other two proved their message from their story. Savvy left a gap. That is why I felt a little uncomfortable. My reading again. Thank you for your listening.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. That's very, very valid feedback. And I trust me, I'm sure that he is also getting that feedback as well, because we do learn from people who have style. And again, what was the takeaway? And I like the comment that was made in the chat. You know, what is one tip or idea that you learned from these speakers that you will take away either as a life lesson or as a Toastmaster lesson? Anyone have a particular lesson that they want to share that they were like, this is an opportunity?
Well, I know for me that the title and the gesture that goes with the title carries a lot of weight, and to make sure that it is a meaningful gesture that everyone can easily relate to and don't need to take a lot of time to grasp the understanding of. Snap a finger, raindrop. Okay, got it. Rain comes down, snap a finger. So try to make the connection of the two as simple as possible, but yet still impactful.
I love that. And as a matter of fact, that harkens back to, oh gosh, this is where my memory is for details comes in. But I think it was Lance Miller in the 2000s that won with the speech "Ka-ching," talking about the sound of a cash register, and it was that ka-ching, ka-ching, and everybody for years was going around going ka-ching because that sound of and that title definitely resonated. So you're right, that raindrops, we're going to all remember that title, right? We're not going to necessarily remember the title of the other two. Jared, you had a comment.
Yeah, I just just echoing. I like the idea of the ending message as well, that you start with a message, you carry that message out to the end. I know it didn't cause them to win, but again, as we said, it was within points that made the difference. But he made it to number two, and people going to still remember that message and actually potentially act on that message. So in my mind, he made the biggest difference.
Yes, excellent. And I also noticed that that was something the two winners, first and second place, both had high audience involvement. They had the audience say something or repeat something or they relied on getting the audience to respond back to them. And so that is a tip I'm going to remember when I am in a high stakes trying to get the audience involved, is how do you find creative ways to engage them and have them be part of the action. Yes, Bobby, I love fix the bulb, pet the dog. That was a very brilliant visual that you will remember. And I love that he called back to that as well with the clicker. That was quite funny. Any other comments about lasting tips or ideas that we're going to really carry with us throughout our future events? Tony?
Yes, I think at the end, the conclusion, the third place.
Oh, Tony, you accidentally went back on mute.
You don't read my lips? I'm sorry.
I'm not good at that.
Yes, I'm talking about the conclusion, the takeaway message. I think that everybody, both of the second and third speaker, they had a good message. They had especially the second speaker. I like that more than anybody else because he had a very clear message about being patient with others and about sitting with them and helping them. That was a good message. But I didn't see that message on Alan. He just said keep on dreaming at the end. and maybe he had room for a stronger message there. Was good, but I think he had room for some improvement.
Agreed. I would have to say that Moss definitely had the strongest takeaway message for us to amongst those three speeches, and that lots of opportunities, but definitely gives us something to think about as we're applying this to our learning as we do that. We do only have about 10 minutes left to this session, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I believe that we've really done a fairly good job of being able to identify what we felt were some of the strengths of these presenters and what opportunities there were. There's no such thing as a perfect speech, right? Nobody scored 100. But we can definitely learn so much from each of the three presenters. I know that I'm going to watch them again a little more carefully, especially revolving the feedback that you all shared, because some of you picked up on things that I missed. That's one of the challenges of 5 to 7 minutes. All it takes is you looking down on your paper for a moment and you miss a key moment or a key gesture. So I appreciate the value of all of the feedback. It's something that the judges don't get to do, really, is to be able to talk and discuss it like we do with evaluations, right? But I do appreciate everyone's feedback. Again, if you have additional thoughts in the next 10 minutes, please feel free to capture those points, because we enjoy so much hearing about your insights. And I especially am grateful that we have a global representation today to get perspectives from different parts of the world and different cultures, and how these speeches resonated with each of you. As a summary for this evening, we reviewed the criteria that is on the International Contest Judging Form. We watched the video from the three winning speeches from the 2025 World Championship of Public Speaking Contest. We did a poll and found out that we just varied a little bit from what the official judges came to a conclusion. We talked about the characteristics of a winning speech. We shared our thoughts and observations about some of the advanced presentation techniques that we saw in the winning speeches. And now I'd like to return control of the meeting to our Vice President Education for Showtime and our amazing chat master, Miss Cynthia Kerford.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nancy. As we close out our program, we'd like to say thank you so much for attending our program. And I just lost my spot. I want to make sure I get all the highlights together tonight. We enjoyed having you here on this virtual meeting of ours. Of course, a number of meetings are virtual. Our club, Showtime Toastmasters, is a virtual Toastmasters club. We meet online on the second and fourth Mondays of each month from 6:30 to 8 o'clock Arizona time, which is UTC -7. So however you calculate that, okay? What makes our club so unique is that we have 2 formal evaluations for each speaker. The first evaluation is based on your Pathways project form that you have applied and its criteria. Excuse me. The second evaluation is a helpful guide that provides additional information of whether it's a contest speech or a community speech. Let's say you're looking to go before a TV program and you want to look polished. That's what that second evaluation will help with. We also have what's called a virtual evaluation role in our club. And each person is given feedback or suggestion to say or help improve. How do you look in that little square box? Are you centered? Too far to the left? Is your head cut off? That is what our virtual evaluation does. And since COVID, we believe online presentation skills are critical, and this kind of feedback is very valuable to everyone. Before we close tonight, let's see, what else do we have? Again, I just want to say thank you. Our regular meetings again are on the second and fourth Tuesdays. I'm sorry, Mondays. I don't know where I got Tuesday. I guess I'm ready for dinner. On the second and fourth Mondays, advanced registration is required to join our meetings. Our website is listed at ShowtimeToastmasters.org. And I think the link is being posted. Again, we thank you so much for coming out. Everyone, help me give a big round of applause with our jazz hands for Nancy for facilitating this wonderful event. If you would like to stay afterwards to just join in an overall chat, we'd love to have you join us. Bobby, at this time, you may stop the recordings.